The blade whistled past Kade's ear, so close he felt the heat of silver against his skin. He ducked, rolled, and came up with his claws extended. The rogue wolf lunged again, all teeth and fury, but Kade was faster. He drove his hand through the attacker's chest, felt the heart stop beating, and let the body drop. 3 more rogues circled him in the clearing. Blood dripped from his knuckles onto the forest floor. His wolf growled inside him, demanding more violence, more death. It was never enough. 3 years of hunting rogues, 3 years of making every kill as brutal as possible, and the rage in his chest never cooled. Because none of these rogues was the one who mattered. None of them was Alpha Damien of the Bloodstone Pack. None of them was the wolf who had slit his father's throat at a peace summit while 19-year-old Kade watched, too weak and untrained to stop it. The remaining rogues attacked together. Kade shifted mid-leap, his human form exploding into his massive black wolf. He tore through them with efficiency born of 3 years practicing for one specific kill. When the last body hit the ground, he shifted back, naked and covered in blood that wasn't his own. His beta, Cole, emerged from the trees, tossing him a pair of pants. "That's the 4th rogue pack this month you've slaughtered." Kade pulled on the pants without answering. His knuckles were already healing, the cuts sealing themselves. "The pack's worried about you," Cole continued, falling into step beside him as they headed back towards Silvermoon territory. "You're 25 years old, and you've never smiled. Not once since you became Alpha. Give me something to smile about. How about the fact that we're thriving? Our territory has expanded, our alliances are strong, and every pack in the region respects us. Your father would be proud." Kade stopped walking. His jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. "My father is dead because I was too weak to save him. Don't talk to me about what he'd be proud of." Cole sighed. They'd had this conversation 100 times. "You were 19 and untrained. Damien is twice your age and one of the most powerful alphas alive. There was nothing you could have done. I could have died trying. Then Silvermoon would have fallen apart without an alpha. You did what Marcus would have wanted. You survived. You grew strong. And now." Cole hesitated. "Now you're ready." Kade's head snapped toward his beta. "Ready for what?" "The plan." Cole's voice dropped low even though they were alone in the woods. "It's finally time. 3 years of preparation, 3 years of building our strength while appearing peaceful. Bloodstone thinks we've forgotten. They think we've moved on." A cold smile touched Kade's lips. It wasn't a happy expression. "They're wrong." They reached the edge of Silvermoon territory, where pack warriors stood guard. The wolves bowed their heads as Kade passed. He was respected, even feared. But loved? He didn't know. He'd never allowed himself to care. In his office, Cole spread a map across the desk. Red marks indicated Bloodstone's weak points, places where their borders were vulnerable. "We've been sabotaging their supply routes for months. Their economy is weakening. Their allies are questioning Damien's leadership. One more push and we strike." Kade's finger traced a line on the map. "Here. Their northern border. We hit them at dawn when they're least expecting it. There's one complication." Cole pulled out another document. "The annual Supernatural Council meeting is in 2 days. Every pack in the region has to attend. Including Bloodstone." Kade's eyes gleamed. "Perfect. We'll use it for reconnaissance. See exactly how weak Damien has become. It's on neutral ground. No violence allowed. I know the rules." Kade straightened, rolling his shoulders. "But nothing is stopping me from looking my father's killer in the eye and letting him see his death coming." Cole studied his alpha carefully. "You've never found your mate, have you?" The question came out of nowhere. Kade frowned. "What does that have to do with anything?" Most wolves find their mates by 25. The pack worries that your focus on revenge has closed you off from the bond. Good. Kade turned away from the map. A mate would be a distraction. A weakness Damien could exploit. A mate would be a strength. Someone to fight for. Someone to. I have something to fight for. Justice for my father. That's enough. Kade's tone made it clear the conversation was over. But that night, alone in his room, he wondered if Cole was right. He'd felt empty for so long. The rage filled most of the void, gave him purpose. But sometimes, in the quiet moments before sleep, he felt the hollowness inside him. Other alphas had families, children, and mates who looked at them with love instead of respect tinged with fear. He pushed the thought away. After Damien was dead, after his father was avenged, maybe then he could think about finding a mate. Maybe then he could be something other than a weapon aimed at his enemy's heart. The next 2 days passed in preparation. Kade drilled his warriors, refined his plans, and tried to ignore the strange restlessness in his wolf. The animal had been agitated lately, pacing inside him like it was searching for something. When the day of the council meeting arrived, Kade dressed in his formal alpha attire, a black suit that emphasized his broad shoulders, silver cufflinks bearing the silver moon crest. He looked every inch the powerful leader he'd become. Nothing like the terrified 19-year-old who'd watched his father die. Cole drove them to the neutral territory, a massive estate maintained by the council specifically for gatherings like this. Wolves from a dozen packs milled around the grounds. The air hummed with barely restrained power as alphas sized each other up. And then Kade saw him. Alpha Damien stood near the main building, silver hair gleaming in the afternoon sun. He was talking to his beta, laughing at something. Laughing. Like he hadn't murdered an innocent man in cold blood. Like he hadn't destroyed a family and left a teenage boy orphaned. Kade's vision went red. His wolf surged forward, demanding blood. His hands shifted to claws before he caught himself. Cole's hand clamped on his shoulder. Not here. Not yet. Kade forced his breathing to steady, forced his claws to retract. But he couldn't look away from Damien. Couldn't stop the memories flooding back. His father's blood was pooling on the floor. His mother was wasting away from grief. The weight of an entire pack falling on the shoulders of someone too young to carry it. Damien must have felt the stare because he turned. Their eyes met across 50 yards of manicured lawn. For a moment, the entire world seemed to stop. Damien's expression hardened into something cold and contemptuous. He knew exactly who Kade was. And he didn't care. The dismissal in that look ignited something volcanic in Kade's chest. He took a step forward, not sure what he planned to do, not caring about the rules or consequences. And then the scent hit him. It slammed into Kade like a physical force, stopping him mid-stride. Vanilla and wild roses. Sweet and sharp at the same time, wrapping around him, sinking into his lungs. His wolf went absolutely berserk, howling one word over and over, mate. No. No, it wasn't possible. He didn't have a mate. He'd never felt the bond, never experienced the pull that other wolves described. But this was unmistakable. The world sharpened into crystal clarity. Every color brighter, every sound clearer. And underneath it all, that scent was calling to something primal in his soul. His head turned without his permission, following the scent to its source. She stood near the building's entrance, partially hidden by a group of other wolves. Long dark hair cascading over her shoulders. Green eyes wide with shock. Hand pressed to her chest like she'd been struck. She felt it too. The mate bond snapped into place between them like a steel cable pulled taut. Kade's feet moved on their own, carrying him toward her. He had to get closer, had to touch her, had to. Then he saw it. The silver and crimson crest was embroidered on her jacket. The bloodstone pack colors. His mate was wearing bloodstone colors. The world tilted sideways. Cole appeared beside him, following his gaze. His beta's sharp intake of breath confirmed what Kade's spinning mind couldn't process. "That's Sera," Cole whispered. "Damien's daughter. She just turned 21 last month." Damien's daughter. His mate was the daughter of the man who murdered his father. Kade's wolf snarled in confusion, torn between the desperate need to claim their mate and the rage toward everything connected to Damien. The two forces ripped at him from the inside, shredding his control. Sera took a step toward him. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something. Her eyes held a mixture of wonder and terror that probably mirrored his own expression. Before either of them could move closer, Damien materialized beside her. His hand closed on her arm, pulling her back. He glared at Kade with open hostility, then bent to whisper something in Sera's ear. She shook her head, arguing, but Damien dragged her inside the building. The loss of her presence felt like losing a limb. Kade's wolf howled, demanding he chase after her, fight Damien, take what was his. The mate bond stretched between them as a rubber band pulled to breaking point, causing physical pain in his chest. "Kade." Cole's voice seemed to come from far away. "Kade, we need to leave. Now." "I can't." The words came out strangled. "My mate is the enemy's daughter. We need to go before you do something that starts a war right here." Other wolves were staring now. Some looked confused, others calculating. News would spread fast. Everyone would know that the Alpha of Silvermoon had found his mate in the last place possible. Cole practically dragged him to the car. Kade went, but his head stayed turned toward the building, toward where he could still feel her presence like a beacon. Every instinct screamed at him to go back, to claim her, to never let her out of his sight. The drive back to Silvermoon territory was silent. Kade's mind spun in circles, trying to make sense of the impossible. His mate. After 25 years of nothing, of being certain he'd never find her, she appears. And she's Damien's daughter. The universe had a sick sense of humor. Back in his office, Cole poured them both whiskey. Kade downed his in one gulp and poured another. The alcohol did nothing to quiet his wolf's desperate howling. "We need to talk about this," Cole said carefully. "There's nothing to talk about. Kade, she's your mate. You can't just ignore. Watch me." Kade slammed his glass down. "This doesn't change anything. She's still the daughter of the man who murdered my father. I won't betray Marcus's memory by claiming her." Cole set his own drink aside. "The mate bond isn't a choice. You reject her, and you know what happens. You'll lose your wolf. Possibly your life. At minimum, you'll lose your alpha power. Then I'll die." Kade's voice was flat. "Better that than becoming exactly what my father died fighting against. Marcus died because Damien is a murderous bastard. Sera didn't kill him. She was probably a child when it happened. She's his blood. His legacy. Everything he loves." Kade's hands clenched into fists. "She's the perfect target for revenge." Cole's eyes widened. "You're not suggesting?" "No." Kade cut him off. "I'm not that far gone. I won't hurt her. But I won't claim her either. I'll reject the bond and deal with the consequences. That's suicide. That's justice." Cole studied him for a long moment. "At least think about it. Research your options. You don't have to decide tonight." Kade wanted to argue, but the mate bond was already taking its toll. His chest ached. His wolf clawed at his mind, furious at being denied. And underneath it all, he could still smell vanilla and wild roses, could still see those green eyes looking at him with hope and fear. After Cole left, Kade pulled every book he had on mate bonds. The information was grim. Rejecting a true mate could cause madness, chronic pain, loss of shifter abilities, or death. Even if he survived, he'd never be the same. His alpha power came partially from his wolf, and a rejected mate bond would cripple that connection. But claiming her meant accepting Damien as family. Meant betraying everything his father stood for. Meant choosing his own happiness over justice. He couldn't do it. He wouldn't. 3 days passed in agony. The mate bond didn't fade. If anything, it grew stronger, more insistent. Kade couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Sera's face. Felt the pull toward her like a fishhook lodged in his heart, constantly tugging. His wolf was destroying him from the inside. The animal refused to cooperate, making even simple shifts painful. During training, Kade's control slipped twice, nearly hurting his own warriors. His temper shortened to nothing. The pack walked on eggshells around him. Cole found him on the 4th morning, staring at maps he couldn't focus on. "You look like death." "I feel worse." Kade's voice was hoarse from lack of sleep. "The bond is killing you. You need to at least talk to her. Talking won't change what she is. Maybe not. But it might give you perspective." Cole dropped a piece of paper on the desk. "She left this at the neutral border last night." Kade's hand trembled as he picked up the note. The handwriting was elegant, feminine. "I know you hate me. I know what my father did. But we need to talk. Please. The bond is tearing me apart, too. Meet me at the old oak on the border. Midnight. I'll come alone. S." His wolf leaped at the words, desperate and hopeful. Kade crumpled the paper. "It's a trap. She's suffering just like you. I can smell the truth in her scent on that note. She's terrified and in pain. Good. She should suffer. Her father made me suffer." Cole slammed his hand on the desk. "Listen to yourself. You're talking about your mate like she's an enemy combatant. She didn't choose her father any more than you chose yours. She chose to wear his colors. She chose to stand beside him. She's 21 years old and has probably been sheltered her entire life. What was she supposed to do? Denounce her only parent?" Cole leaned forward. "Go meet her. Gather intelligence if nothing else. See what she knows about Bloodstone's defenses." The suggestion made sense strategically, even if everything else about it was madness. Kade could use the meeting to his advantage. Learn Bloodstone's weaknesses. Maybe even use Sera as a pawn in his revenge. The thought made his wolf snarl in outrage, but Kade ignored it. He'd been ignoring his wolf for days now. "Fine," he said. "I'll meet her. But only to make things clear. This bond ends tonight." Midnight found Kade at the old oak tree that marked the border between Silvermoon and neutral territory. The moon hung full overhead, making everything silver and sharp. His wolf paced restlessly, knowing their mate was close. Then she emerged from the shadows, and Kade forgot how to breathe. She wore simple clothes, jeans, and a sweater, nothing like the formal attire from the council meeting. Her dark hair was loose, curling around her shoulders. But it was her eyes that held him. Those green eyes that had haunted his dreams were currently shining with unshed tears. The mate bond flared between them like wildfire. Every cell in his body screamed to close the distance, to touch her, to claim her. His hands shook with the effort of staying still. "You came," she whispered. "You're on neutral ground. One step into my territory and my warriors will attack." She flinched at the hostility in his voice. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just needed to see you. To understand what's happening to me. What's happening is biology. A cosmic joke. Nothing more. It feels like more." She wrapped her arms around herself. "I can't eat. Can't sleep. Every moment away from you is physical pain. My wolf is going insane. Join the club." The words came out harsher than he intended. Sera took a tentative step closer. Kade forced himself to step back. If she touched him, he didn't trust himself to maintain control. I didn't know, she said suddenly. What my father did to yours. He never told me details about the past. Just said that Silvermoon were savages who couldn't be trusted. And you believed him. He's my father. Of course, I believed him. Her voice broke. But tonight, after I felt the bond, I demanded answers. He told me there was bad blood between your families. That your father attacked first at the peace summit. That he was defending himself. Rage exploded in Kade's chest. That's a lie. My father went to that summit unarmed, in good faith. Damien murdered him in cold blood while I watched. Sera's hand flew to her mouth. You watched? I was 19. Too weak to stop it. Too slow to save him. The admission tasted like ash. Your father looked me in the eye while my father bled out and said I'd be next if I ever challenged him. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Your ignorance doesn't change what he is. What you are. What am I? She looked up at him, hurt flashing in her eyes. I'm your mate. I didn't choose this any more than you did. But I'm not my father. I've never hurt anyone. I don't deserve your hatred. You're right. Kade's jaw clenched. You don't deserve it. But you're getting it anyway because I can't separate you from him. Every time I look at you, I see the bloodstone crest. I smell his scent on you. You're a living reminder of everything I've lost. Then reject me. Her voice turned cold. If I'm such a burden, such a painful reminder, reject the bond right now. Let us both suffer through it and move on. His wolf howled in denial. The thought of rejecting her, of severing that golden thread connecting them, made him physically ill. But his pride, his anger, and his loyalty to his dead father all demanded he do exactly that. Maybe I will, he said. Sera closed the distance between them in 3 quick steps. Before Kade could react, she pressed her hand against his chest, right over his heart. The touch sent electricity through every nerve. His wolf surged forward, desperate to claim her. You feel that? She whispered. That's not hate. That's not revenge. That's destiny trying to tell us something. Kade grabbed her wrist, intending to push her away. But the moment his skin touched hers, the bond blazed so bright he saw stars. His other hand came up on its own, cupping her face. She leaned into the touch, her eyes falling closed. This doesn't change anything, he said, but his voice was weak. It changes everything. She opened her eyes, and the vulnerability there nearly broke him. I know you want revenge on my father. I know you've spent 3 years planning it. But I'm not him. I didn't choose to be born into Bloodstone. I didn't choose to be his daughter. The only thing I've chosen is to come here tonight and beg you to see me as me. Not as his legacy. Kade's thumb traced her cheekbone without his permission. She was beautiful. More than that, she was brave. Coming here alone, knowing he hated everything about her bloodline, took courage. But courage didn't erase the past. He dropped his hand and stepped back. The loss of contact made them both gasp. I can't do this. Every instinct I have says to claim you, but my father deserves better. He deserves justice. And I deserve a mate who doesn't see me as the enemy. Fresh tears tracked down her face. If you can't give me that, then you're right. We should end this now. She turned to leave. Kade's wolf screamed at him to stop her, to pull her back, to never let her go. But he stood frozen, watching her walk away. She made it 10 steps before she turned back. You know what the worst part is? I actually understand. If someone killed my father, I'd want revenge, too. But Kade, If you go through with whatever you're planning, if you destroy Bloodstone, you'll destroy me too. Because whether you like it or not, they're my family. My pack. And the bond means your pain is my pain. Then she was gone, disappearing into the shadows. Kade stood alone under the oak tree, feeling like he'd been hollowed out. His wolf raged at him, furious and betrayed. The bond stretched between them, painful and insistent even across the distance. He'd done the right thing. Kept his focus on what mattered. So why did it feel like he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life? Back at Silvermoon, he couldn't face his empty room. Instead, he went to his father's old study, a space he'd left mostly untouched since Marcus's death. He poured himself whiskey and sank into his father's chair, surrounded by ghosts. His eyes landed on a bookshelf he'd never fully explored. His father had been meticulous about record-keeping. Maybe there was something here, some detail about Damien that could help him understand why the man had turned murderous. Kade pulled books at random, flipping through journals and pack records. Most were mundane, tracking alliances and territorial disputes. But then his hand closed on a leather-bound journal hidden behind the others. His father's personal diary. He almost put it back. Reading his father's private thoughts felt like a violation. But curiosity won. He opened to a random page dated 26 years ago. Damien came by today. He's distraught over Elena's pregnancy. Worried about bringing a child into a world with so much violence. I told him fatherhood changes everything. Makes you want to build instead of destroy. He laughed and said I've gone soft. Maybe I have. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. Kade's breath caught. Damien and his father had been friends. Close enough to discuss fears about fatherhood. He flipped forward, looking for more entries about Damien. Elena was killed today. Damien is shattered. She was 8 months pregnant, killed by rogues on the border of our territory. He came to me screaming, demanding to know why my patrols didn't stop it. I told him we saw no rogues, that our borders were secure. He accused me of lying. Of ordering her death because I was jealous of his happiness. The accusation is insane, but grief makes people cruel. I've sent trackers to find the rogues responsible. We'll bring them to justice. Kade's hands trembled as he turned the page. Damien won't listen to reason. I've brought him evidence, witnesses, everything proving the rogues acted alone. He won't accept it. He's convinced I orchestrated Elena's murder. Today, he challenged me to a duel. I refused. He's not thinking clearly. He's my brother in all but blood. I won't fight him over a lie his grief has convinced him is truth. More pages. More desperate entries as the friendship deteriorated. Marcus is trying everything to convince Damien of his innocence. Damien is growing more paranoid, more violent. Until finally, 3 years ago, the last entry. Damien has called for a peace summit. After 23 years of hostility, he says he wants to end the feud. I'm cautious but hopeful. Maybe grief's hold on him has finally loosened. Maybe we can be brothers again. I'm bringing Kade. He should see that peace is possible, even after terrible loss. The entry ended there. The next page was blank. Because his father never came home from that summit. Kade stared at the journal, his entire understanding of the past shifting. Damien hadn't killed his father over territory or power. He'd killed him over a 23-year-old murder that Marcus hadn't committed. Revenge for a maiden unborn child, taken by rogues that Damien blamed on Silvermoon. It was revenge. Just like Kade's own burning need for revenge. Damien had spent over 2 decades convinced Marcus was responsible for destroying his family. And when that grief finally drove him to murder, he'd created the same situation in Kade. The parallel was sickening. Kade thought of Sera's words. The cycle of revenge destroys everyone it touches. She was right. Damien's revenge had destroyed Marcus. Kade's revenge would destroy Damien. And in the process, it would destroy Sera, his own mate. Where did it end? A knock on the door interrupted his spiraling thoughts. Cole entered without waiting for permission. Bloodstone is mobilizing. Our scouts report unusual movement along their borders. Kade's strategic mind snapped into focus. What kind of movement? Looks like they're preparing for an attack. Warriors are being recalled from outlying areas. Supplies are being stockpiled. Cole's expression was grim. Damien knows about the mate bond. He might be moving first, trying to strike before the bond complicates things. When? Best guess. Dawn tomorrow. They'll hit our northern border where it's weakest. Exactly where Kade had planned to attack them. The irony wasn't lost on him. Mobilize our forces. I want every warrior armed and ready. We'll meet them head on. Cole nodded and left. Kade stood, the journal still in his hand. Tomorrow, he'd face Damien in battle. Tomorrow, the revenge he'd spent 3 years planning would finally come to fruition. So why did he feel hollow instead of triumphant? He thought of Sera, probably locked in her room at Bloodstone, knowing her father was about to attack her mate's pack. The bond would tell her everything. She'd feel his preparation for war, his anticipation of violence. She'd know he wasn't trying to stop this. The thought of her pain twisted something in his chest. Kade threw the journal across the room. It hit the wall and fell open to a page he hadn't read yet. Despite himself, he walked over and picked it up. Today, Kade asked me what makes a good alpha. I told him strength, wisdom, and courage. But I should have told him the truth. A good alpha knows when to fight and when to forgive. Knows that some battles aren't worth winning if the cost is your soul. I've watched Damien let grief poison him into something monstrous. I pray Kade never faces that choice. Pray he never has to decide between revenge and redemption. Kade read the words 3 times. His father's last piece of wisdom was written months before his death. A warning from beyond the grave. But it was too late. The pieces were already in motion. Tomorrow, blood would spill. And Kade would finally have his revenge. He just had to ignore the voice whispering that revenge would cost him the one thing he'd never expected to find. His mate. His future. His chance at something more than rage and loneliness. The night crawled by. Kade tried to sleep, but the bond kept him awake, pulling his awareness toward wherever Sera was. He could feel her distress, her fear. It made his wolf pace and snarl, furious that their mate was in pain. At 3 in the morning, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against his better judgment, he answered. Kade. Sera's voice was barely a whisper. His wolf surged forward at the sound. How did you get this number? That doesn't matter. Listen, my father is planning to attack at dawn. He's bringing 200 wolves. You'll be slaughtered if you're not prepared. I know about the attack. We're ready. Silence on the other end. Then, you knew. And you're just going to let it happen. Let it? I've been planning my own attack for 3 years. Your father just beat me to it. He heard her sharp intake of breath. So this is it. You're really going through with it. Did you think I wouldn't? I thought maybe. Her voice cracked. I thought maybe the bond would matter. That I would matter. You do matter. The admission escaped before he could stop it. But so does justice for my father. This isn't justice. It's just more death. More orphans. More mates destroyed. She was crying now. Please, Kade. There has to be another way. There isn't. Your father made sure of that when he killed Marcus. Then I'm coming to you. What? No. Stay in Bloodstone where it's safe. Safe. She laughed bitterly. I'm the mate of my father's enemy. There's nowhere safe for me. But if I'm going to lose everything tomorrow, I at least want to see you one more time. To try to make you understand. Sera, don't. The line went dead. Kade stared at his phone, his heart pounding. She wouldn't actually cross into Silvermoon territory. That would be suicide. His warriors had orders to detain any Bloodstone wolf on sight. But even as he tried to convince himself she'd stay put, he felt the bond pulling. She was moving. Coming closer. He cursed and grabbed his jacket, racing out of the house. If his warriors caught her before he did, they'd throw her in a cell or worse. The pack's hatred of Bloodstone ran deep. They wouldn't care that she was his mate. Kade shifted mid-run, his black wolf eating up the distance to the northern border. He could smell her now, that intoxicating scent of vanilla and wild roses getting stronger. And underneath it, fear. She was terrified, but coming anyway. His wolf howled, calling to her. A moment later, he heard an answering howl. A lighter, feminine sound that made his chest ache. He found her at the border, still in wolf form. Her coat was dark gray, almost silver in the moonlight. Smaller than him but graceful, built for speed rather than power. She stood frozen as he approached, her body language submissive despite the courage it took to come here. Kade shifted back to human form. After a moment, she did too. They stood facing each other, both breathing hard. You shouldn't have come, he said. I had to. She stepped closer, and he noticed she was shaking. My father has me locked in my room. I had to climb out the window and run 20 miles to get here. Guards are probably looking for me right now. Then you've made yourself a traitor to your own pack. I made myself your mate's ally. Her chin lifted defiantly. Whether you want me or not. Before he could respond, 3 of his warriors burst through the trees, weapons drawn. They saw Sera and immediately shifted to attack positions. Stand down, Kade commanded. They hesitated, confused. Alpha, she's Bloodstone. I said, stand down. She's under my protection. The warriors exchanged glances but obeyed, though they didn't lower their weapons completely. One of them spoke into a radio, probably alerting Cole. Sera looked at the warriors, then back at Kade. Please. Just give me 5 minutes. Let me say what I came to say. He should send her back. Should use this opportunity to lock her up as leverage against Damien. Every strategic instinct screamed that this was a gift he'd be stupid to refuse. But the bond wouldn't let him. The thought of her in a cell, frightened and alone, made him physically ill. Take her to the house, he told the warriors. No one touches her. No one even looks at her wrong. Understood? They nodded reluctantly and escorted Sera toward the main building. Kade followed, his mind racing. What was he doing? This was insane. In a few hours, he'd be at war with her father, and here he was offering her sanctuary. Cole met them at the door, his expression carefully neutral. Should I prepare a guest room or a cell? Guest room. Kade didn't look at his beta. And post guards. For her protection, not imprisonment. Inside, Sera stood in the middle of his living room, looking small and out of place. She'd never been in enemy territory before. The scent markers alone must be overwhelming, every surface carrying traces of Silvermoon wolves who'd spent 3 years preparing to destroy her pack. You have 5 minutes, Kade said, harder than he intended. Say what you came to say. She took a shaky breath. My father is planning to attack at dawn. He's bringing 200 wolves to your northern border. But Kade, that's not the main force. It's a distraction. His head snapped up. What? He knows you'll expect the northern border because it's weakest. While your warriors are busy there, he's sending a second group to attack from the east. 50 elite fighters led by his best general. They're going to hit your civilian quarter. Ice flooded Kade's veins. The civilian quarter housed the elderly, the young, and the non-fighters. If an elite force hit them while his warriors were occupied elsewhere, it would be a massacre. Why are you telling me this? His voice came out hoarse. Because they're going to kill innocents. Children, Kade. I heard my father discussing it. He said the best way to break Silvermoon is to destroy your future generation. Tears streamed down her face. I can't let that happen. I won't. Even if it means betraying my own pack. Cole had entered the room during her confession. His face was pale. If she's telling the truth. She is. Kade could feel it through the bond. No deception, only desperate honesty and horror at what her father planned. Then we need to relocate the civilians immediately and reposition our forces. Kade nodded, his strategic mind already working through the logistics. Wake everyone. I want the civilians moved to the southern safe house within the hour. Pull half our warriors from the northern border and fortify the east. Cole left at a run, barking orders into his radio. Kade turned back to Sera, who stood trembling and crying. You just saved hundreds of lives, he said quietly. I just doomed my own pack. When my father finds out, I warned you, when his attack fails because you were prepared. She wrapped her arms around herself. He'll never forgive me. You did the right thing. Did I? She looked up at him, her eyes red and swollen. The right thing for who? Your pack, yes. But what about mine? What about the Bloodstone Wolves who are going to die tomorrow because I betrayed them? The question hit him like a physical blow. She was right. Her warning would save Silvermoon's lives but cost Bloodstone's. She'd chosen him over her own family, and the guilt was eating her alive. Kade closed the distance between them without thinking. His hands came up to her shoulders, steadying her. Your father made this choice when he decided to target civilians. You stopped a war crime, not a fair fight. He's still my father. Her voice broke. And I just helped seal his death warrant. The words hung between them. Because she was right. With Silvermoon prepared and forewarned, Damien's attack would fail. And in the chaos of battle, Kade would finally have his chance. Finally get his revenge. But looking at Sera's devastated face, the victory felt hollow. I have to go, he said, pulling away. The pack needs me. I know. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. I'll stay out of your way. He made it to the door before her voice stopped him. Kade. When you face my father tomorrow, when you have your chance for revenge, just remember something. Every choice we make creates the future. Your father's journal that you were reading earlier. I felt through the bond that you found something important. Whatever it was, let it guide you. Because revenge might feel good in the moment, but it's the choice you'll have to live with forever. He turned back, stunned. How did you know about the journal? She touched her chest, over her heart. The bond. It's getting stronger. I can feel your emotions now. Your confusion, your pain, your rage. Her hand dropped. And your loneliness. You've been alone for so long, Kade. Don't let revenge keep you that way. Then she walked past him toward the guest room, leaving him standing in the doorway with his entire worldview cracking apart. The next few hours were chaos. Civilians evacuated. Warriors repositioned. Weapons distributed. Kade moved through it all on autopilot, his mind split between strategy and the woman upstairs who turned his plans inside out. Cole found him as dawn approached. We're as ready as we'll ever be. The eastern border is reinforced. Civilians are safe. When Bloodstone attacks, we'll be waiting. Good. Kade checked his weapons, the familiar motions calming. This was what he understood. Violence. Strategy. Revenge. What about her? Cole asked quietly. What about her? After the battle. After you kill Damien. What happens to Sera? Kade's hand stilled on his blade. He hadn't let himself think that far ahead. Sera would lose her father. Her pack would likely scatter without their alpha. She'd be alone, orphaned just like he'd been. And she'd hate him for it. The bond wouldn't matter. She'd look at him and see her father's killer, the same way he'd looked at her and seen Damien's daughter. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe you should figure it out before you do something irreversible. Cole left him alone with that thought. Kade stood in the armory, surrounded by weapons meant to take life, and wondered if his father would be proud of what he'd become. A warrior burst through the door. Alpha. Bloodstone is here. Both forces, exactly where the girls said they'd be. This was it. 3 years of planning, 3 years of rage, all coming to a head. Kade grabbed his weapons and headed for the door. The air was thick with tension as Kade reached the northern border. 200 bloodstone wolves faced his warriors across 50 yards of no man's land. In the growing dawn light, he could see Damien at the front, silver hair gleaming, face set in grim determination. Their eyes met. After 3 years of planning, dreaming, and obsessing over this moment, Kade felt strangely calm. This was fate. Inevitable. One of them would die today, and the other would finally have peace. Or so he'd always believed. Now, with Sera's words echoing in his mind and his father's journal burned into his memory, he wasn't so sure. Cole appeared at his shoulder. Eastern Border reports Bloodstone's elite force approaching. They're walking into our trap. Hold position until I give the signal, Kade ordered. Let them commit fully before we close the jaws. Across the field, Damien raised his hand. The Bloodstone wolves tensed, ready to charge. This was the moment. One word from either alpha, and blood would flow. Kade opened his mouth to give the order. And then he felt it. A spike of pure terror through the mate bond. Sera was afraid. Not for herself. For him. She was watching from somewhere in the house, probably from a window, and she was terrified he was going to die. The emotion poured through the bond so strongly that it staggered him. She barely knew him, had every reason to hate him, but she was genuinely frightened for his life. When was the last time someone feared for him? Cared if he lived or died beyond what it meant for pack politics? Alpha? Cole's voice was urgent. Your orders. Kade stared at Damien across the field. The man who'd murdered his father. The man who'd created an orphan out of grief-fueled revenge. The man who was about to die. And Kade saw himself. Saw what 3 more years of rage would make him. Saw Sera's face twisted with the same grief that had destroyed Damien. Saw the cycle continuing forever, generation after generation, mates and children and packs destroyed by revenge that never satisfied. His father's words whispered through his mind. A good alpha knows when to fight and when to forgive. Stand down, Kade said. Cole's head whipped toward him. What? I said stand down. Kade's voice carried across the field, loud enough for both packs to hear. Hold your positions. No one attacks. Confusion rippled through the Silvermoon warriors. Across the field, Bloodstone looked equally baffled. Damien's face twisted with rage. What game are you playing, boy? Damien shouted. Kade stepped forward, alone, into the no man's land between the armies. It was a massive risk. A single arrow, a single wolf breaking ranks, and he'd be dead. But he kept walking until he stood in the center, visible to everyone. No game, he called back. I'm calling a truce. A truce? Damien laughed harshly. After 3 years of sabotage? After your mate bonds with my daughter? You think I'm stupid enough to believe you want peace? I think you're smart enough to recognize a stalemate. Kade gestured to the eastern forest where Damien's elite force was surrounded. Your main plan failed. My warriors are waiting in ambush. If this battle happens, both our packs will be devastated. Hundreds will die. For what? A 23-year-old tragedy that neither of us can undo. Damien's expression flickered. Just for a moment, uncertainty showed through the rage. I know about Elena, Kade continued. I found my father's journals. I know she was killed by rogues on our border. I know Marcus spent months trying to prove his innocence to you. I know you never believed him. Because he was lying. Damien roared. He ordered her death out of jealousy. He didn't. Kade's voice was steady, certain. I read his private journals, the ones he never meant anyone to see. He was devastated by Elena's death. Terrified of losing your friendship. He tried everything to convince you the rogues acted alone. You're lying. Trying to save yourself. I'm telling you the truth. The same truth my father tried to tell you 23 years ago. Kade took another step closer. You killed an innocent man, Damien. You murdered my father based on grief and paranoia, not evidence. And then you created me. Another orphan. Another rage-filled son planning revenge. The words hit Damien like physical blows. His face went pale. That's the cycle, Kade continued, his voice carrying to every wolf present. Your grief made you kill Marcus. My grief made me plan to kill you. If I succeed today, what happens? Sera grows up hating me. Plans her own revenge. Kills me or my future children. When does it end? Silence fell across both packs. Warriors on both sides shifted uncomfortably, weapons lowering slightly as the question sank in. I spent 3 years dreaming of this moment, Kade said. 3 years planning how to make you suffer. But last night, I held my father's journal and realized something. Revenge won't bring him back. Killing you won't heal anything. It'll just create more pain, more orphans, more rage. Pretty words from someone who's about to lose, Damien spat, but his voice lacked conviction. I'm not losing. Look around. Kade gestured to the eastern forest, then to the assembled Silvermoon warriors. We knew about both your attacks. Your daughter warned us. Damien's face went white, then red with fury. Sera. She betrayed. She saved lives. Kade's wolf leaked into his voice, making it echo with alpha power. She found out you planned to massacre civilians. Children. And she couldn't live with that. So she warned me, knowing it would cost her everything. She chose you over her own pack. Over me. She chose to stop a war crime. There's a difference. Kade softened his voice. She's suffering right now. The bond is tearing her apart because she had to betray her father to save innocent lives. That's the kind of person she is. And you raised her. Whatever else you've done, you raised a daughter with more courage and honor than either of us has shown. Damien's shoulders sagged. For the first time, he looked old. Tired. The rage that had sustained him for 23 years seemed to drain away, leaving only exhaustion. What do you want? Damien asked finally. The truth. In front of both packs. Did my father order Elena's death? A long pause. Then, barely audible, no. Louder. Everyone needs to hear it. Damien's voice broke. No. Marcus didn't order Elena's death. It was rogues. I found evidence years later, after I'd already killed him. Rogue wolves from the northern territories, acting alone. Marcus was telling the truth. Gasps rippled through the bloodstone ranks. Some warriors lowered their weapons entirely, shock evident on their faces. They'd been told for years that Silvermoon killed their previous alpha's mate. Now their current alpha admitted it was a lie. You've known for years, one bloodstone warrior called out. You let us believe Silvermoon was guilty when you knew they weren't. Damien turned to face his own pack. I couldn't admit I was wrong. Couldn't admit I murdered an innocent man out of blind rage. So I justified it. Convinced myself and all of you that Silvermoon was evil, that they deserved everything we did to them. His voice cracked. I became the monster I accused Marcus of being. The confession hung in the air. Kade watched emotions play across the faces of both packs. Anger, confusion, betrayal. But also something else. Relief. Like a weight they'd all been carrying, suddenly lifted. So what now? Cole called from the Silvermoon line. We just forget 3 years of sabotage. Forget Alpha Marcus's murder. No, Kade said. We don't forget. But we choose a different path forward. He turned back to Damien. You'll step down as Alpha of Bloodstone. Your beta takes over. You go into exile for what you did. Damien nodded slowly. And Sera? Sera stays with me. If she'll have me. Kade's chest tightened. I rejected her, pushed her away because I couldn't see past my rage. I don't know if she'll forgive that. But I'm going to try. She will. Damien's smile was sad. She has her mother's heart. Forgiving and brave and too good for either of us. He paused. Protect her. She's all I have left of Elena. I will. I swear it. Damien looked at his assembled pack. I, Alpha Damien of Bloodstone, hereby relinquish my position. Marcus's death is on my hands alone. Not on any of you. Victor, you're Alpha now. Led them better than I did. A tall, dark-haired wolf stepped forward from the Bloodstone ranks. Victor, Damien's beta. He looked between both armies, then spoke with careful authority. Bloodstone accepts. We also propose a formal peace treaty with Silvermoon. Enough blood has been spilled over lies and grief. Kade nodded. Silvermoon accepts. Cole, work with Victor on the treaty terms. But the fighting ends now. Relief swept through both packs. The warriors lowered their weapons fully. Some collapsed to the ground, exhausted from the tension. Others embraced packmates, grateful to have survived what could have been a massacre. But Kade's attention was pulled elsewhere. Through the bond, he felt Sera's shock and hope and fear all tangled together. She'd heard everything. Felt his choice through the mate connection. He turned and ran toward the house, leaving Cole to manage the aftermath. His wolf urged him faster, desperate to reach their mate. To see if the damage he'd done could be repaired. He found her in the guest room, standing by the window where she'd watched everything unfold. Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling. That smile hit him harder than any weapon. You stopped the battle, she whispered. You chose peace. I chose you. The words came out raw, honest. I chose a future over the past. I chose to be better than my rage. She took a step toward him, then hesitated. You said terrible things to me. That I was a reminder of everything you'd lost. That you couldn't separate me from my father. I was wrong. I was so focused on revenge that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. He moved closer, giving her space to retreat if she wanted. You're not your father. You're brave and compassionate and everything I didn't know I needed. I'm sorry I made you feel like you were anything less. You rejected me. Her voice broke. The bond was tearing me apart, and you told me it didn't matter. I know. I was a coward. I hid behind my father's death instead of facing the truth. He stopped a few feet away, hands clenched at his sides to keep from reaching for her. The truth is that the moment I saw you at that council meeting, something in me recognized home. My wolf knew. My soul knew. But I was too broken to accept it. And now? Now I'm still broken. Still carrying 3 years of rage and grief. But I want to heal. I want to build something instead of destroying. And I want to do it with you. If you'll give me a chance. Sera studied his face, searching for deception or doubt. Whatever she saw made fresh tears fall. My father is going into exile because of what you demanded. I know. I'm sorry. But he murdered an innocent man. There have to be consequences. I agree. She wiped her tears. He did something terrible, and he has to face that. But Kade, he's still my father. I still love him despite what he's done. Can you accept that? The question was a test. Kade knew it. She was asking if he could truly separate her from Damien's sins. If he could let her grieve her father's exile without resentment. Yes, he said. I can't promise it'll be easy. Can't promise I won't struggle with seeing bloodstone wolves or hearing Damien's name. But I promise I'll never punish you for loving your father. Never make you choose between him and me. He'll be alone. In exile. Her voice trembled. I'll be the only family he has left. Then we'll make sure you can visit him. That he knows he's not completely abandoned. Kade took a risk and closed the remaining distance between them. I won't be the thing that destroys your relationship with him. I won't be another Damien, so consumed by rage that I can't see the pain I'm causing. Sera's hand came up to touch his face. Her fingers traced his jaw, and the bond flared between them like electricity. You really stopped the battle. Risked everything for peace. I risked everything for you. Peace was just a bonus. She laughed through her tears. That's probably the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. I'm new at this. Romance. Caring about someone other than myself and my revenge. His hand covered hers on his face. You'll have to be patient with me. I'm going to mess up. Say the wrong thing. Let my past override my present. But I'll try. I swear I'll try. That's all I ask. She leaned into him, and he wrapped his arms around her carefully, as she might break. I'm new at this, too. Being someone's mate. Standing up to my father. Choosing my own path. They stood like that, holding each other as the sun rose fully over the horizon. Outside, two packs that had been enemies an hour ago were tentatively mingling, beginning the long process of healing old wounds. A knock interrupted them. Cole stood in the doorway, deliberately looking at the ceiling. Sorry to interrupt, but we need alpha decisions. Treaty terms, border negotiations, what to do with Damien. Kade looked down at Sera. Come with me. You know Bloodstone better than anyone. Help me make this right. You want me involved in pack business? I'm not even officially your mate yet. You saved hundreds of lives last night. You've earned a voice in what comes next. He took her hand. Besides, if we're merging our futures, we might as well merge our pack's futures too. They followed Cole downstairs, where Victor and a group of bloodstone wolves waited. The atmosphere was tense but not hostile. Victor nodded respectfully to Kade, then looked surprised when Sera appeared at his side. Sera? Are you all right? We heard you'd been captured. I wasn't captured. I came willingly to stop a war. She straightened her shoulders. I told Kade about the planned attack on the civilians. I couldn't let children die, no matter whose children they were. Victor's expression softened. That took courage. Your father is furious, but I think part of him is proud. You did what he should have done years ago. You chose honor over blind loyalty. The negotiations took hours. Kade insisted on fair terms, not Victor's terms. Bloodstone would keep its territory. Both packs would share hunting rights in disputed areas. Trade agreements would be established. And most importantly, a council would be formed with representatives from both packs to handle future disputes peacefully. Sera contributed throughout, her knowledge of Bloodstone politics invaluable. Kade watched her hold her own against wolves twice her age, arguing passionately for fair treatment while acknowledging her pack's wrongdoing. She was magnificent. When they finally broke for the evening, Kade pulled her aside. "You were incredible in there. I just tried to be fair. Both sides have suffered. Both sides deserve better." She looked up at him. "What happens now? With us? Now we complete the mate bond. Officially." His heart raced at the suggestion. "Unless you need more time. I can wait. I've been an ass to you, and you have every right to make me grovel longer." She smiled, that beautiful smile that made his wolf preen. "I don't need you to grovel. I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll keep choosing peace. That when things get hard, when old resentments surface, you'll remember why you stopped that battle today. I promise. You have my word as alpha and as your mate." He pulled her closer. "But I need a promise from you, too." "What?" "Promise you'll call me out when I'm being an idiot. When I'm letting my past control my present. Promise you'll be the voice of reason when my rage tries to take over." "I can do that." She tilted her head. "Though I reserve the right to be gentle about it sometimes." "Fair enough." He leaned down, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She didn't. Their lips met, and the mate bond exploded between them like fireworks. Every nerve ending lit up. His wolf howled in triumph. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sera rested her forehead against his chest. "That was. Yeah. We should probably do that again. You know, to make sure it's real." He laughed, the sound rusty from disuse. "I like how you think." They kissed again, longer this time, and Kade felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. The future stretched ahead, uncertain and probably difficult, but no longer empty. Cole cleared his throat from the doorway. "Again. I'm starting to feel like a third wheel in my own pack house. But there's one more thing. Damien wants to say goodbye to Sera before he leaves for exile." Sera tensed in Kade's arms. He squeezed her gently. "Do you want me to come with you?" "No. This is something I need to do alone." She pulled back, her eyes worried. "Will you be okay? Seeing him again?" "I'll manage. He's your father. You deserve a proper goodbye." She kissed his cheek and followed Cole out. Kade stood alone, fighting the urge to follow. To make sure Damien didn't manipulate her or try to convince her to leave. But he'd promised to trust her. To let her maintain her relationship with her father. So he waited, pacing the room like a caged animal, until she returned 20 minutes later. Her eyes were red from crying. "How was it?" he asked carefully. "Hard." He apologized for everything. Said he was proud of me for being braver than him. She collapsed onto the couch. "He's leaving at dawn. Going north to live alone in the mountains." Kade sat beside her, leaving space but staying close. "I know this doesn't fix anything, but I'll arrange for regular visits. You can see him whenever you need to. I won't keep you from him." "Thank you." She leaned against his shoulder. He said something else. "Something I think you should hear." "What's that?" He said Marcus would be proud of you. That stopping the battle took more strength than winning it would have. She looked up at him. "He also said to tell you that he wishes he'd been strong enough to make the same choice 23 years ago. That maybe if he had, none of this would have happened." Kade's throat tightened. He'd expected to feel rage at hearing Damien's name, expected the old hatred to surge up. Instead, he just felt tired. Sad for all the wasted years, all the unnecessary pain. "My father used to say that strength isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about knowing when not to." He wrapped his arm around Sera. "I think I finally understand what he meant." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, the sounds of two packs tentatively mingling drifted through the window. Laughter, cautious at first, then more genuine. The beginning of healing. "I'm scared," Sera admitted quietly. "What if the packs can't get past their history? What if our bond isn't enough to bridge the gap? Then we'll work harder. Build stronger bridges." Kade's fingers traced patterns on her arm. "It won't be easy. Some wolves will resist. Some will never fully accept the peace. But we have to try. For them and for us. For our future children," she added softly. The words hit him like lightning. Children. A family. Things he'd stopped letting himself imagine 3 years ago. Now suddenly they were possible again. Real. "Is that something you want? Eventually?" His voice was rougher than he intended. "Eventually, yes. Not right away. We barely know each other." She smiled. "But someday, I'd like little wolves running around. A mix of Silvermoon and Bloodstone. Living proof that peace is possible. I'd like that too." He kissed the top of her head. "Though I'm terrified I'll be a terrible father. I've spent 3 years being nothing but rage and violence. Then you'll learn to be something else. We'll learn together." She turned to face him fully. "Kade, I need you to understand something. I'm not expecting you to be perfect. I'm not expecting the grief and anger to just disappear because we're mates. Healing takes time. I know. But I want to try. For you. For us. For the pack. Then that's enough. That's all I need." A commotion outside made them both stand. Through the window, they saw Bloodstone wolves preparing to leave. The treaty was signed. The immediate crisis was over. Now came the hard part, actually building the peace. Victor approached the house and knocked. Kade let him in, noting how the Bloodstone Alpha moved carefully, showing respect without submission. "We're heading back to our territory," Victor said. "But I wanted to thank you both. Sera, your courage saved lives on both sides. And Kade, your choice to stop the battle when you could have won, it means something. Not all of Bloodstone will accept it immediately, but they'll come around. Some of Silvermoon won't accept it either," Kade acknowledged. "We'll both have work to do convincing our packs this peace is real." "Agreed. Which is why I'd like to propose something." Victor pulled out a map. "There's a stretch of land between our territories. Neutral ground. What if we built something there? A meeting hall. A place where both packs can gather, trade, and resolve disputes peacefully." Sera's eyes lit up. "A symbol of the new alliance." "Exactly. We could call it." Victor hesitated. "I was thinking Marcus Hall. In honor of the Alpha who wanted peace but never got to see it." Kade's chest constricted. His father's name on a peace hall. His father's memory was honored not through revenge but through building something better. It was perfect and painful and exactly right. Yes, he managed. Marcus would have loved that. They discussed details for another hour. By the time Victor left, Kade's head was spinning with plans and possibilities. So much to do. So much to rebuild. But for the first time in 3 years, the tasks ahead felt like opportunities instead of burdens. Cole found them as night fell. "The pack wants to see you both. There's some unrest. Some wolves aren't happy about the peace." Kade nodded. He'd expected this. "Gather everyone in the main hall. It's time I addressed them properly." 20 minutes later, the entire Silvermoon pack filled the hall. Hundreds of wolves, all watching their alpha with expressions ranging from supportive to openly hostile. Kade stood at the front with Sera beside him, feeling the weight of their judgment. "I know many of you are angry," he began. "Confused about why I stopped the battle. Why did I let Damien live? Why I'm proposing peace with the pack that killed my father. Silence. Tense and expectant. For 3 years, I've led you with one goal, revenge. I've pushed you to train harder, fight better, hate deeper. I've turned Silvermoon into a weapon aimed at Bloodstone's heart. He paused. And in doing so, I dishonored everything my father stood for. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Kade raised his hand for quiet. Marcus believed in peace. In diplomacy. In solving conflicts without unnecessary bloodshed. He went to that summit unarmed because he trusted in the possibility of reconciliation. Kade's voice strengthened. Damien murdered him for that trust. And I've spent 3 years becoming exactly what killed my father, a wolf so consumed by rage that I couldn't see any path except violence. He looked at Sera, who nodded encouragingly. But yesterday, I found my father's journals. Read his thoughts, his hopes, his warnings. He wrote that a good alpha knows when to fight and when to forgive. That some battles aren't worth winning if the cost is your soul. Kade faced his pack. Today, I chose to forgive. Not because Damien deserved it. Not because the past doesn't matter. But because continuing the cycle of revenge would have cost all of our souls. He killed Alpha Marcus, someone shouted from the back. He deserves death. You're right. He does. Kade's agreement surprised them. But executing him wouldn't bring Marcus back. It would just create more orphans, more rage, more reasons for future battles. Damien is going into exile. He'll spend the rest of his life alone, knowing he destroyed his relationship with his daughter and his pack over a lie. That's justice. And her. Another voice, gesturing to Sera. She's his daughter. His blood. Why should we trust her? Sera stepped forward before Kade could answer. Her voice was clear and strong despite her fear. You shouldn't. I haven't earned your trust yet. I'm the daughter of your worst enemy. I wear the colors of the pack that tormented you for 3 years. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. But I'm also your alpha's mate. And I risked everything to save your children from being massacred. I betrayed my own pack because killing innocents is wrong, no matter who gives the order. She straightened her shoulders. I can't change who my father is. Can't erase the past. But I can promise you that I'll spend every day proving I'm not him. That I choose peace and honor and protect the innocent. Silence. Then, slowly, a few wolves nodded. Not many. But enough. An older female wolf stood. Kade recognized her, Margaret, one of his father's closest friends. Alpha Marcus chose peace even when it cost him his life. If his son chooses the same path, who are we to question it? She looked around the room. I knew Marcus for 40 years. He would be proud of what Kade did today. More nods. The tension in the room eased slightly. Another wolf stood. I lost my brother in a border skirmish with Bloodstone 2 years ago. I've wanted revenge ever since. But. He paused, struggling with emotion. My brother had a son. A pup who's now 5 years old. If this war had continued, that boy might have grown up planning his own revenge someday. Maybe peace is the only way to stop the cycle. One by one, wolves stood and shared their stories. Losses, grief, rage. But also hope. Exhaustion with the constant conflict. Relief that their children might grow up without war. Not everyone was convinced. Some wolves left the hall in disgust. But most stayed. Most listened. And when Kade called for a vote on accepting the peace treaty, the majority raised their hands in favor. It wasn't unanimous. It wasn't perfect. But it was a start. After the meeting, Kade found Margaret waiting outside. She pulled him into a fierce hug. Your father would be so proud. You chose the harder path. The right path. I almost didn't. Almost let rage win. But you didn't. That's what matters. She pulled back and looked at Sera. And you, young lady. That took real courage, speaking to a pack that has every reason to hate you. Sera ducked her head. I just told the truth. The truth is often the bravest thing we can offer. Margaret smiled. Welcome to Silvermoon, child. I think you'll fit in just fine. As Margaret walked away, Sera let out a shaky breath. That was terrifying. You were amazing. Kade pulled her close. A natural leader. My pack is lucky to have you. Our pack, she corrected gently. Our pack, he agreed. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Damien left for exile at dawn the day after the battle, his goodbye to Sera brief but emotional. Kade stayed away, giving them privacy, but he felt every moment of Sera's grief through the bond. When she returned to him, eyes swollen from crying, he simply held her. No words needed. Construction began on Marcus Hall, the neutral meeting place between territories. Wolves from both packs worked side by side, the physical labor creating tentative friendships. Kade made a point of visiting the site daily, working alongside his pack. Sera did the same, her presence helping Bloodstone wolves feel represented. The formal mate-claiming ceremony took place under the full moon 3 weeks after the battle. Both packs attended, a historic first. Kade and Sera stood before their people and completed the ancient ritual, marking each other as mates for life. The bond that had tortured them with distance now sang with completion, golden and unbreakable. That night, alone in their room, Sera traced the claiming mark on Kade's shoulder. Do you ever regret it? Choosing peace over revenge? Every day, he admitted. Part of me still wants to rage at Damien. Still wants blood for blood. But then I look at you and remember what I would have lost. You would have lost yourself. Become him. Exactly. He kissed her forehead. The rage doesn't just disappear. Some days it's louder than others. But I'm learning to live with it instead of letting it control me. That's all we can do. Learn and grow and try to be better than our worst impulses. She snuggled closer. Speaking of growth, I have news. His heart skipped. News? The Bloodstone Council wants to discuss a full merger. Not just an alliance, but actually combining the packs into one. They're calling it Moonstone Pack, a blend of both names. Kade sat up, processing. A merger would be unprecedented. 2 packs with so much history are becoming one entity. What do you think? I think it's terrifying and brilliant. It would take years to integrate fully. Some wolves would never accept it. But their children would grow up together, not knowing the old divisions. Her eyes shone with hope. Imagine it, Kade. One pack. One future. One family. He pulled her into his lap. Marcus Hall would just be the beginning. We'd share everything. Territory, resources, leadership. Co-alphas. You and me, leading together. She cupped his face. Is that something you'd want? He thought about his father's dream of peace. Thought about all the lives saved by ending the feud. Thought about future generations growing up without the weight of ancient hatred. Yes, he said. Let's build something new. Something better. The proposal was brought to both packs the following week. The vote was close, many wolves on both sides resisted such drastic change. But it passed. Barely. Silvermoon and Bloodstone would become Moonstone Pack, with Kade and Sera as co-alphas. The transition was chaotic. Arguments over territory boundaries, resource distribution, and ranking systems. Kade spent 18-hour days mediating disputes, often with Sera at his side. She had a gift for finding compromise, for helping wolves see beyond their old prejudices. Cole became his right hand, while Victor served as Sera's. Together, the four of them built the framework for a new kind of pack. One based on merit rather than bloodline. On cooperation rather than dominance. On healing rather than revenge. 6 months after the battle that never happened, Marcus Hall was completed. The opening ceremony drew wolves from packs across the region. Everyone wanted to see if the impossible merger would actually work. Kade stood at the podium, Sera beside him, looking out at hundreds of faces. Some friendly, some skeptical, all watching to see what he would say. 6 months ago, I stood ready to destroy everything my father built in the name of avenging his death. I was consumed by rage, by hatred, by the certainty that revenge was the only path to justice. He paused, letting the words sink in. I was wrong. He felt Sera's hand slip into his, giving him strength. My father believed in peace. In second chances. In the possibility that even old enemies could become family. Today, we honor that belief by opening Marcus Hall, a place where conflicts end with words instead of blood. Kade's voice grew stronger. But this building is just a symbol. The real work happens every day, when wolves from former enemy packs choose to work together. To trust each other. To build a future their children will inherit. He looked at Sera, his mate, his partner, his reason for choosing the harder path. She smiled, encouraging him to continue. 6 months ago, I found my mate. She was the daughter of my worst enemy, and I rejected her. Pushed her away because I couldn't see past my rage to recognize a gift when it was offered. His throat tightened. But she didn't give up on me. She risked everything to save innocent lives. Showed me that courage isn't about how fiercely you can fight, but about how bravely you can choose peace when war would be easier. Applause rippled through the crowd. Not everyone joined in, but most did. Moonstone Pack is an experiment. A gamble that wolves who once wanted to kill each other can learn to live as a family. Some of you think it will fail. Some think we're naive or weak for trying. Kade's alpha power leaked into his voice. But I'd rather be called weak for choosing peace than strong for choosing destruction. I'd rather build something that might fail than burn something that can never be rebuilt. The applause grew louder. Even some of the skeptics were nodding. Sera stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. In Bloodstone, I was raised to hate Silvermoon. Told they were monsters who killed without reason. In Silvermoon, wolves were taught that Bloodstone was evil and untrustworthy. Both packs spent decades reinforcing those beliefs. She paused. Both packs were wrong. She gestured to the crowd, where Bloodstone and Silvermoon wolves stood mixed. Look around. These aren't monsters. They're people. Wolves with families, hopes, fears. The only thing that made us enemies was choosing to believe we were. Today, we choose differently. We choose to see each other clearly. And in doing so, we choose to be better than our past. Standing ovation. Even the skeptics couldn't resist. Sera had that effect on people, making them want to be better, braver, kinder. After the ceremony, Kade found a quiet moment alone with his thoughts. He walked to the back of Marcus Hall, where a memorial plaque hung. His father's name is engraved in silver, along with the words, "He dreamed of peace." We made it real. I hope I made you proud, Dad, Kade whispered. I didn't get revenge. I let your killer live. But I think this is what you would have wanted. Sera appeared beside him, slipping her hand into his. He's proud. I'm sure of it. How can you be sure? Because I'm proud of you. And if I can forgive what your choices cost me, your father can forgive what your choices honored in him. She leaned against his shoulder. You didn't just stop a battle, Kade. You stopped a cycle. Changed the future for hundreds of wolves. We changed it. I couldn't have done this without you. Partners, she agreed. In everything. They stood together, watching through the windows as their pack, their one, unified pack, celebrated inside. Former enemies sharing food, swapping stories, laughing together. The sight was imperfect, still awkward in places, but genuine. "I have something to tell you," Sera said softly. "I was going to wait, but this moment feels right." Kade turned to her, heart racing. "What is it?" She took his hand and placed it on her stomach. "I'm pregnant. Just a few weeks, but I'm sure." The world stopped. Pregnant. A child. His child. Their child. The future they'd talked about is now becoming real. "Are you sure?" His voice came out strangled. "I'm sure. I can feel it. A new life. A blend of both our bloodlines." She smiled through happy tears. The first child of Moonstone Pack. Born from peace instead of war. Kade pulled her into his arms, holding her as if she might disappear. A child. A symbol of everything they'd built, everything they'd chosen over revenge and hatred. His father's grandchild, who would never know the weight of inherited feuds. "I love you," he said, the words coming easier each time. "I love you so much it terrifies me. I love you too. My alpha. My mate. My choice." She pulled back to look at him. "Every day, you choose to be better. That's all anyone can do. And it's enough." Inside Marcus Hall, someone called for the alphas. Duty beckoned, as it always would. But now duty felt different. Not like a burden carried alone, but like a responsibility shared with someone who understood. They walked inside together, hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges came next. The path ahead wouldn't be easy. Some wolves would always resist the merger. Some wounds would never fully heal. But for the first time in 3 years, Kade felt something he'd forgotten was possible. Hope. He looked at his pack, former enemies now becoming family, and then at Sera, carrying their future inside her. This was his father's real legacy. Not the rage and revenge Kade had almost chosen, but the peace and possibility Marcus had always believed in. "Thank you for not giving up on me," Kade whispered to Sera as they joined the celebration. "Thank you for giving us a chance." She squeezed his hand. "Now come on. Our pack wants to celebrate with us." "Our pack," Kade repeated, savoring the words. "I like the sound of that." They stepped into the crowd together, and Kade finally understood what his father had known all along. True strength wasn't about how much destruction you could cause. It was about how much you could build. How much could you forgive? How much you could love even when hate would be easier. And in that moment, surrounded by wolves who'd chosen peace over war, with his mate beside him and their child growing inside her, Kade knew he'd made the right choice. Not the easy one. Not the one that satisfied his rage. But the right one. The one his father would have been proud of. The one that gave them all a future worth fighting for. If you enjoyed this story of redemption, love, and choosing peace over revenge, please hit that like button and subscribe for more werewolf stories. Drop a comment below telling us what you thought. Would you have made the same choice Kade did? What pack would you want to belong to? Your support helps us create more content like this. Until next time, may you always choose the path that heals rather than harms.